I'm Rachel Andrew. I'm the content lead for Chrome Developer Relations. And that means that my day job is working with my team to land content on web.dev and developer.chrome.com to help you understand existing and new features that are becoming available in browsers today. This talk will share with you just some of the features that have become available across browsers recently. There's a lot of things landing, but these are features that I think are ready for you to at least start to learn and maybe even to implement in projects, because they're all interoperable and part of Baseline newly available. Before I talk about the features, I'd like to talk a bit about Baseline to put into context the browser information you're going to see for each feature in this talk and in other talks at Google I/O. I've been working as a web developer and also creating content for developers for a very long time. And because of that, I know that new features that come into browsers are really exciting and that you like to know about these new things that are being worked on by browsers. But I also know that it's not always easy to use these new features due to differences in browser support. And even when the features are available in all browsers, it's not easy to keep up and to know what's ready to start using. Now, my experience as a developer and as talking to developers is backed up by research that we've done at Google and also by surveys that are run in the community, such as the state of CSS. So in some research that we conducted, 21% of developers told us that keeping up with new features in web standards is a top challenge. This came a really close second to the very top challenge, which is testing end-to-end user flows. Also, 21% of developers told us that keeping up with changes in web standards is a top challenge. So when we add a new feature to an existing API, how do you know that's happened, and how do you find out about that change or whether it's ready to use? And then another top challenge, and I think something which has been a challenge ever since I started working on the web back in 1997, is how do you make a design or an experience work the same across browsers? Now, the thing about these challenges is they come up every time we run these surveys. They're always at the top of the list for web developers. So to help improve things, we launched Baseline at Google I/O last year as a method to easily tell when features are ready for you to use. And we've been developing the concept over this year working with the WebDX community group. It's important to know this isn't just a Google thing. This is something that we've been doing more broadly with representatives from other browser vendors and also from the community. So that group acts as a governance group for Baseline, and it helps to ensure that a broad range of opinions and experiences are reflected in the decisions that are made. So a key thing we had to do this year was figure out how to define Baseline. The features that you're going to see in this talk are all what we call Baseline newly available. That means they're interoperable across our core browser set, which includes Chrome, desktop and Android, Edge desktop, Firefox desktop and Android, and Safari, macOS and iOS. If something is Baseline newly available, you'll see that it's indicated by this blue logo, and you'll find this on Can I Use and MDN already, so you know at a glance that a feature is part of this group. Now, when something becomes Baseline newly available, it might just have become available across browsers, perhaps even this week with the browsers that have released this week, but you know it's there. It works in the same way everywhere, and it's a clear part of the web platform. Now, some features in that newly available group can be used as an enhancement, with a fallback, or even a polyfill. But it's likely that if you're reaching for something that is newly available, you're going to have to put some thought in as to how to support people who don't have it yet because they've got older browser versions. Eventually, though, features get to a point where you don't have to worry about using them. It's very unusual for browsers not to have them. Perhaps you've been working on the web long enough to remember when the new HTML5 structural elements were so new that you needed a polyfill in order to use an aside or an article element. Now, I don't think many people are doing that today on a brand new site. So eventually, new things become old things, and you don't need to worry about them anymore. So to indicate that group, we have baseline widely available. If something is widely available, it's likely that you can just use it without thinking too much about non-supporting browsers. And it's indicated with this green logo on sites like MDN and Can I Use. So a feature becomes widely available after 30 months have passed since it became newly available, so 2.5 years. And this line was agreed by the WebDX group as the point at which most developers can safely use a feature. So unless you have some very specific support requirements, you can feel pretty safe to use widely available features. We also have this orange badge, and this shows things that have limited availability. So perhaps they're only in 1 or 2 of the browsers. They're not available everywhere. Now, you'll see these badges used in many of the web talks, live here, and also in video for Google I/O, as well as increasingly across the web. And if you talk or write about web platform features, you can use them as well to help clarify the status of features that you're describing. I want to talk a little bit about Interop because the project's now in its 3rd year, and it's an annual benchmark where all of the major browser vendors come together to work on some of the most highly requested interoperability issues that developers are facing out there on the web platform. Now, that might be entire features like container queries, or it could be some smaller compatibility issues or bugs in otherwise generally interoperable features. Many of the features I'm going to talk about today became part of baseline newly available due to their inclusion in Interop 2023 and 2024. And there are many features currently part of that Interop 2024 set that will hopefully make it over the line through the rest of this year. If you want to follow along with this year's Interop story, you can follow along on the Interop dashboard. And the scores there are based on the number of web platform tests that features pass. So each passing test indicates a problem that you won't run into. So Interop is a really key component of our aim to improve the web platform as a whole. So part of what we hope to solve with Baseline is to give you better ways to understand the progress of features. So when something is being developed, when will it become interoperable, and how can you follow along? One way that we're answering this question is with the web platform dashboard. Now, throughout this talk, I've tried to show you how browser vendors work together to make features interoperable, so they then become part of Baseline newly available. The Interop project has shone a light on a subset of features for the last few years, allowing everyone to follow on the Interop dashboard. But with the web platform dashboard that we're announcing here at Google I/O, you'll be able to see the entire web platform mapped as a set of features along with Interop status. We've never had this kind of visibility on how the platform is evolving. For us at Chrome, it gives us a new way to identify the places where we need to improve our implementations to have better interoperability with other browsers. The dashboard has web platform tests as a key data source. They highlight failings that might be edge cases in a highly interoperable feature, but if you're the person who hits that edge case, they really matter. Since the web platform dashboard is focused more on engines than browsers, it's likely that for many developers, the overviews on Can I Use and MDN are going to be more useful day to day. But I think there are a few use cases I'd like to highlight for those of you who like to follow along with web platform features. Perhaps you'd like to see everything that's part of Baseline 2023. That would make a great list of things to consider learning about and seeing if they make a difference on projects you're working on. You might spot a feature you hadn't realized existed there. You might write an article about features and want to know everything that's become newly available in the last 3 months, so you can filter the view to have a look at that. There might be a key web platform feature that you're really excited about and you want to see it become part of Baseline newly available. You can follow along with progress by viewing the feature with a timeline for score changes. As a writer, I'm really excited to use the dashboard to help with my own work. It's going to make creating content such as new to the web platform on web.dev much easier. Now, the dashboard you can visit today is a preview launch with a full list of features included in Baseline 2023. We'll be backfilling data through this year in collaboration with everyone working on web features. So Baseline is already very helpful today with the messaging on MDN and Can I Use, along with the web platform dashboard. You've got many new ways to learn about feature availability. The dashboard will hopefully help you see features as a collection. If you decide that your users are likely to be using browsers that include features that are in, say, Baseline 2022, you can see that group of features on the dashboard to identify the things you have available. And you can check individual features to make sure they're Baseline 2022 or older. But doing that for your entire code base is a lot of work that would be better done by tooling. You should be able to tell your editor or IDE that you'd like to stick to Baseline 2022 and get a warning about features that are newer than that. You should be able to tell your linter and CI tooling about that too. So on larger projects, everyone's aware and you don't ship features that don't have support. Now, the first step in all of that is to decide which baseline version you need to target. Now, other platforms have this same issue, but platform owners can provide some guidance on the distribution of users across versions, so developers can make that trade-off. But nothing like that exists on the web. The web is not versions. There's no owner of the web that distributes it and can make recommendations about which versions to target. So we kind of end up picking different browsers and their versions and trying to find data on distribution. So to help with this, we're really happy to announce that Akamai's RUM archive has been working on a solution to that problem, and will make available today a new tool for developers on RUM Archive Insights. For the first time, you can see side by side the global user share of baseline versions and features that are unlocked with that version of baseline. And you can use that today on rumarchive.com/insights. This addresses the issue of a baseline version for a new project, but if you've got a very specific audience on your existing site, you'd probably like to understand the impact of using new features on your existing user base. So we're working with RUM Vision to address that issue, and we'll have more to announce later this year. So we're working on tooling providers already with integrating with baseline, but this is an area where we need your help. If you work on tooling for developers, check out the data we're making available via the dashboard and consider building support for baseline into your tooling. So with baseline, we really hope to improve the platform, but also improve the experience of developing for it. If you adopt Baseline 2023 as your baseline, these are all the features that became newly available and are there for you to use. And if you want to get excited about what's coming in 2024, here are all of the features that we already know are part of Baseline 2024. And we're not yet halfway through the year. There's plenty of browser releases still to come. You can follow along on web.dev with the announcements from today and lots of information about all of the features that I've mentioned. You can use the baseline graphics in your own articles and presentations. We really hope that this new way of viewing the platform will bring more clarity to developer content and give you better ways to discuss browser support with your stakeholders. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of Google I/O.